Day 6 has officially arrived in Melbourne, signaling the start of the high-stakes third round, where the competition shifts into a completely different gear. The tournament bracket is beginning to solidify, and every single match now carries a significantly heavier weight, taxing the players both physically and psychologically. Spanish sensation Carlos Alcaraz kept his championship campaign rolling, securing a commanding straight sets victory over Corentin Moutet. However, do not let that 3-set-to-love scoreline fool you. This was a tactical dogfight. Moutet threw the kitchen sink at the Spaniard, employing his trademark bag of tricks, wicked spins, feather-touch drop shots, and constant rhythm changes that demanded Alcaraz's total focus from the very first ball. The early stages of the contest were fiercely competitive, yet Alcaraz managed to weather the storm. He displayed a level of maturity far exceeding his age, staying incredibly patient and refusing to take the bait on low percentage shots. As the clock ticked on, Alcaraz turned up the heat. His defensive scrambles began to break Moutet's spirit, and his lethal forehand began to tear holes in the Frenchman's defense. Once the world number 2 locked into his groove, he seized the reins of the match and slammed the door shut with absolute conviction. But the absolute thriller of the day, and arguably the entire tournament thus far, belonged to the Russian tactician Daniil Medvedev. He orchestrated a breathtaking escape act against Fabian Morozin, clawing his way back from a catastrophic 2-set deficit to triumph in a 5-set marathon. In the early going, Medvedev looked completely at sea, visibly rattled by the Hungarian's fearless heavy-hitting artillery and relentless depth. Morozin was redlining, painting the lines, and suffocating the former champion. Yet as the hours mounted and the sun beat down, Medvedev slowly began to turn the tide. He tidied up his game, eliminating the cheap errors, elongating the rallies, and turning the match into a war of attrition where his superior fitness could shine. By the time the third set rolled around, the entire dynamic of the battle had flipped on its head. Medvedev went into lockdown mode, dismantling his opponent piece by piece until he broke Morozin's will. Once he snatched the momentum, he never looked back. It was a terrifying reminder to the locker room: never count this man out when it comes to the grueling nature of best-of-5 tennis. Meanwhile, Alexander Zverev punched his ticket to the second week with a gritty 4-set triumph over Cameron Norrie. This was far from a routine day at the office, as Norrie's lefty spin and relentless consistency posed serious riddles. Ultimately, the German's booming serve and laser-like backhand proved to be the great equalizers over the course of the match. Zverev stayed cool during the marathon exchanges, stepping on the gas exactly when it mattered. It was a display of resilience and power that showcased his title credentials as the match wore on. In a surprising turn of events, the typically unpredictable Alexander Bublik delivered a masterclass in controlled aggression, dismissing Tomas Martin Etcheverry in straight sets. The Kazakh star married his usual flamboyant shot-making with rare tactical discipline, serving lights out and taking the ball on the rise to rob the Argentine of time. Etcheverry looked lost, unable to counter Bublik's dominance as he dictated the flow from both the baseline and the net. This was a locked-in, mature version of Bublik that spells trouble for anyone left in the draw, proving he is ready for the big stage. The Cinderella run continues for young Learner Tien, who put together a pristine performance to oust Nuno Borges without dropping a set. Tien operated with the poise of a veteran, serving with surgical precision and dictating the terms of engagement immediately. He suffocated Borges right out of the gate, never allowing the Portuguese player to find a foothold. This win marks a massive leap forward in what is fast becoming a career-defining fortnight for the rising star. Home favorite Alex de Minaur was absolutely lethal, producing a sharp and convincing dismantling of Frances Tiafoe in straight sets. The Australian utilized his blistering foot speed to relentlessly pressure Tiafoe, forcing the American into panicked shot selection and uncharacteristic blunders. The Demon's return game was stifling. He kept Tiafoe pinned on his heels constantly. Riding a wave of energy from the chaotic Melbourne crowd, de Minaur dictated the tempo from start to finish, sending a loud warning shot to the rest of the field. Elsewhere, American Tommy Paul booked his spot in the 4th round after Alejandro Davidovich Fokina was forced to wave the white flag due to injury. Paul had already banked the first 2 sets and was cruising, playing aggressive clean tennis that kept him firmly in the driver's seat. While it is a heartbreaking exit for the Spaniard who has battled his body, Paul looked dangerous and efficient before the premature handshake ended the contest. We have a massive shocker in the men's bracket as Francisco Cerundolo sent 5th seed Andrei Rublev packing in straight sets. The Argentine played with zero fear, bringing a level of high-octane intensity that Rublev simply couldn't match. Cherundolo dominated the baseline skirmishes, systematically dismantling the Russian's rhythm with heavy, deep hitting. His forehand was a sledgehammer today, bullying Rublev behind the baseline and extracting error after error. Rublev looked rattled and never found his groove, while Cherundolo seized the moment to blow this quarter of the draw wide open with a statement victory. Switching gears to the women's singles, defending champion Aryna Sabalenka faced a severe test against Anastasia Potapova, much tougher than the odds suggested. The world number 1 survived in straight sets, but the scoreboard reads double tiebreak 7-6, 7-6. It wasn't vintage Sabalenka destruction. Instead, she had to rely on pure grit and composure when the walls were closing in during the biggest moments. Her massive serve bailed her out of tight spots, and when the pressure peaked in the rallies, she trusted her thunderous power to cross the finish line. Finally, Coco Gauff had to dig deep to secure her advancement, overcoming a spirited challenge from Hailey Baptiste in 3 sets. It was a roller coaster affair for Gauff, but her champion's mentality shone through as she reset her focus for the decider. She cleaned up her game, playing with smarter margins, defending like a wall, and utilizing her world-class athleticism to turn defense into offense when the match was on the line. Mira Andreeva kept her spectacular momentum rolling at the 2026 Australian Open, dismantling Elena Gabriela Ruse in straight sets without breaking a sweat. The young Russian sensation looked like a seasoned veteran out there, controlling every inch of the court and dominating the rallies with a level of poise that simply defies her age. Ruse just could not find her footing against the onslaught, completely overwhelmed by Andreeva's effortless shot placement and ruthless aggression during the critical exchanges. This performance was absolute clinical perfection, sending a loud and clear warning to the locker room that she is a serious contender for the title this year. Over on the outer courts, we saw a grueling marathon between Victoria Mboko and Clara Towson, with Mboko emerging victorious after a punishing 3-set war. The match was a roller coaster of shifting tides, yet Mboko displayed nerves of steel, keeping her cool when it mattered most to seal the deal in what was easily one of the toughest fights of the week. Elina Svitolina extended her dominant campaign down under, brushing aside Diana Schneider in straight sets to book her spot in the next round. The Ukrainian star was the definition of disciplined tennis, leaning on her vast experience to soak up the heavy hitting and masterfully counterpunch from defensive positions. While Schneider had brief flashes where she looked dangerous, she simply had no answer for Svitolina's relentless consistency and incredible ability to cover every corner of the court. It was a masterclass in professional tennis, a smooth and controlled victory that propels her forward with a massive boost of confidence. But the headline of the day has to be the shocker in the women's bracket, where the underdog Jovic stunned the crowd by knocking out Jasmine Paolini in straight sets. Paolini looked like a shadow of her usual self, unable to establish her trademark rhythm and failing to dominate the baseline exchanges the way we are used to seeing. Jovic, however, played with absolute fearlessness, constantly stepping inside the baseline to rob her opponent of time and dictating the pace of play. Her serve was impeccable during the high-pressure moments, and she never blinked, closing out both sets with authority to secure the most significant victory of her Australian Open run so far. With the third round action heating up, you can feel the entire atmosphere of the tournament shifting into a much more serious gear. The days of comfortable victories are officially over. Now, it is a test of pure physical grit, where mental fortitude is becoming just as critical as the ability to hit a winner. Day 6 has provided us with a tantalizing preview of the drama that lies ahead in the second week. We are seeing former champions pushed to the brink, young prodigies rising to the occasion, and pivotal matches that will shape the narrative of the entire championship. With several blockbuster showdowns still on the schedule, the intensity at Melbourne Park is set to skyrocket, capping off an unforgettable Day 6 of tennis action. If you loved this update, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe for more daily coverage. Catch you all for the next round.